I'm Paul Darroch, the author of Jersey Secrets of the Sea, and today I'm going to be sharing an ancient Jersey legend, Les Cris des Tombelènes, a medieval tragedy. Bouilly Bay, Jersey, autumn 1462. September ended with storms. The shortening days flickered past like a parade of guttering candles, and the people of Trinity cowered in their hovels. They said that the sheep stealers were riding harder now, emboldened by the darkening nights. These were evil days. Abetted by treachery, the King of France had conquered Jersey, and his fleur-de-lis banner hung over Gorey Castle. The administration of justice had ground to a halt, and the warden of the Isles had fled. Armed gangs of criminals, deserters, irregulars, vagabonds, roamed the countryside on horseback. They rustled sheep, gorged on the fat of the land, and filled their boots with whatever they could kill for. Yet even in these darkest hours, love and life would not be forsaken. One night, at the head of Bouilly Bay, smoke drifted up into the skies, for a betrothal feast was at hand. In these straitened times, it was rare enough to see any snatched moment of celebration. But tonight, the halls of Farmer Roland's house were decked with the flowers of the forest, St. John's herb, heather, the last blooms of late summer. A crowd of friends and well-wishers from the parish of the Holy Trinity had gathered there to greet a newly engaged couple. A feast was served in their honour, and fat barrels of cider were split open. They had been scrupulously hoarded for just such a time as this, one final fling before the bleak onset of winter. For old Farmer Roland's only son and heir, the younger Roland, had pledged his troth to Jeanne du Jourdain, fair maiden of the parish. Her eyes glinted green beside him in the firelight, smitten with love. The betrothal guests shovelled clumps of rake into the fire, and it crackled and burned even brighter. The revels were ending now, a ceremony crowned by a song. After much cajoling and persuasion, the shy bridegroom-to-be burst into voice. It was a chanson in pure and melodious Jersey French, a song of love and beauty and hope. His beloved melted into his arms, and they danced into the night. The dance was broken by a knock at the door. It was brutal and insistent, the sound of approaching death. A stranger loomed at the threshold. He wore the chainmail of a French knight, but one who had deserted his own army to serve himself alone. Coldly he turned to Farmer Roland. "You did not invite me to your feast, you peasant. Kneel at my feet and plead for mercy." Yet the old man straightened his spine defiantly, his breath freezing in the chill of the night. He refused to yield. The younger Roland's blood exploded in rage, sickened at the insult to his father's honour. Drunk on his own courage, he swaggered up to the intruder. "Get out of here, before I kick you out like a dog. This is my father's house. This half is ours. Begone." Silence hung there like an axe suspended. The stranger grimaced. His was a cold and unyielding fury, as chilling as the northern rain. At last he spoke, and his words lingered long after he had slipped away. "Your life is forfeit, my child. Your account will be settled, and that soon enough." The stranger was gone. A raven screeched behind him in the night. Long after midnight, an exuberant Roland escorted his fiancée Jeanne and her family home to their farmstead. She wept with fear, shaking with dread, begging him to take Fidèle, her loyal dog, to guard him on his journey home. Yet Roland felt fearless. He had faced boldly up to the oppressor this day and seen him off. Tonight he had become a man, and soon enough he would take his vows as a husband too, at the altar, beneath the angels and the incense in the church of the Holy Trinity. His road was hallowed now, and every path would lead him home. He strode off into the night, Fidèle, her hound, at his heels. At a lonely crossroads, Fidèle stopped abruptly and let out a heartbreaking, terrified whine. For a moment the night was utterly silent, concealing its secrets. Then a band of horses clattered over the horizon. These were powerful steeds, bearing masked men, riding in force. In the moonlight, Roland glimpsed flashes of heavy weaponry, swords, axes, battle shields. Instinctively, like a field rat, he scurried into a ditch, willing himself to sink into his muddy, cold embrace. The men passed, but then the sky crackled open with a bolt of lightning. For a moment, an electric white light burst over Jersey, flooding the fields like high noon. He ran, but there could be no escape now. He heard oaths, saw a blade slash at his brave dog. Then a mace was raised, and the back of his head was smashed like a snail's shell. 5 burly men seized his limp body, binding his hands, throwing him onto the back of a horse like a stolen sheep. Warmth filtered back first, just before the pain. Roland was somewhere by the fireside again, dancing with his beloved. But then the sticky agony of his skull splintered his dream. He was indeed by a fire, but trapped somewhere in a dark cave, deep within a cliff, above a black beach. The storm waters thundered and roared outside, but in this den of thieves all was merriment. The sheep stealers feasted on legs of stolen mutton and downed jars of cider. Shadows flickered and danced on the walls. The brigands stuffed and gorged and belched. At last, they remembered their tethered victim, and they decided to hang him dead. But then, just as they tightened the rope around his neck, something unexpected happened. His beloved, beautiful Jeanne ran into his arms. Somehow, in the bitter hours of darkness, her whimpering wounded dog, Fidèle, had limped home. Fidèle's blood trail stained the dark country hedges, but woken by her bleeding, distressed hound, Jeanne had seized her courage and followed the trail right down to the foot of the cliff, into the lair of the pirates. It was a fatal blunder. Now the robber chief sneered at his double prey. "Behold these 2 little lambs caught in a hunter's snare," he bellowed. "Kill them both." In the darkness of the cave, armed men closed in. The gang surrounded them. Roland, bound and wounded as he was, lurched forward to defend his beloved. There was a flash of steel in the darkness, and the first lamb was slain. Roland bled to death on the rock floor of the cave, his blood mingling with the rising waters. Then the pirate king closed in to seize Jeanne. Too late, he realized she carried a concealed knife. With a primal shriek that could break the walls of the cave, Jeanne lunged straight at him. The blade broke clean in the chief's sternum, and he was dead before his corpse hit the floor. Jeanne ran straight towards the open mouth of the cave. The surviving robbers were gaining on her, but she kept on climbing over the treacherous rocks. The storm was screeching higher, and violent waves were plunging in from the north. Jeanne looked back at the welter of lights and men, the frenzy of torches and knives. And then a black wall of water broke over her, and she was flung straight into the maw of the sea. Her body was washed up days later on the October tides. The parishioners mourned and fasted. Their fairest children were gone. Later that night, a funnel of carrion crows was seen rising from the base of the cliff. And when the men of Trinity stumbled down and found the empty cave, they came across the wreckage of an abandoned feast. 2 bodies lay there on the cold stone floor, the pirate and his prey, broken in the shadow of the cave. Today, they call it Les Cris de Boan, and it is an accursed place. The north coast in these parts is a desolate and solitary shore, and when the tides roar in and the waves shatter the high cliffs, they say that deep within the cave you can still hear Jeanne wailing. The fishermen have an old name for it, Les Cris des Tombelènes. We can hear her calling still, as the tides turn, as day becomes night, as the centuries scatter like pebbles on the seashore. She cries every night for her lost love, for a last glimpse of warmth and light, for everything that lies buried deep beneath the waves.